to our Saturday demo here at Woodcraft Spokane. Today we're going to talk about and kind of demonstrate some distressed finishes, partly with paint and partly with some other products. I'm going to start kind of show this here. This is a piece of alder that has well, I've turned gray, and I've actually not done this with stain. I've done this with a product called Pioneer Wood. Comes in a couple different packs, one to mix up a quart, one to mix up a gallon. Just gets mixed into water, and you get a fun colored liquid just like that. This has quite a long shelf life after it's mixed up, so this was mixed up almost a year ago, and it still works, still good. Just before you use it, you want to stir it up a bit before you use that there. The reason why I'm starting here is I want to show you live how quick this is to turn a piece of wood gray. It will turn most wood gray in a matter of minutes. Unfortunately, it won't turn pine and fir, cedar, some of those softer woods gray right away. They do suggest if you put this product on there to put it outside in the elements to turn gray. It'll gray quicker than if you weren't going to use it, but it's not very fast by itself on those. But this alder will turn gray very, very quickly. So I grabbed a piece of alder here, and although I don't think this stuff is necessarily toxic, I don't want it all over me. So, and then I just have a brush that I reuse here for this. Very simple. Just get the brush a little wet and brush it right on here. And I'm doing this first just so it has a few minutes to dry and turn gray while I'm talking about and demonstrating the other bits of my demo today. This has a nice kind of metallic smell to it, so I'm going to go ahead and do the end grain. Nothing too fancy here. All right, so the whole thing is saturated, ready to go. I'm going to set this off to the side on some painter's pyramids to dry while we're talking about the rest of it here. Okay. All right, so it's a paper towel. All right, so this was turned gray, and I've used this product quite a bit. I really like it to turn this color gray. It seems to be a color that a lot of people are after, just kind of that natural weathered look, and I find that this works really, really well. Now, in order to maintain this really light gray, I put General Finishes High Performance over the top of it. It doesn't matter what sheen you use. If you don't like a lot of sheen, do the flat. I put satin on mine, and it was still a little shiny, so I went over it, rubbed it down with one of these maroon finishing pads. It's like a synthetic steel wool. This is equivalent, I think, about a 2/0 steel wool, so it's fairly coarse, but it knocks it down, leaves a nice smooth surface, and still maintains that nice gray look. I've done a few other projects with this and used other finishes like General Finishes Armor Seal or Endurovar. Both of those will actually darken this up, give it a little more brown hue to it, which looks nice. It's not quite as gray as this, but can certainly do a little bit different color on there. Okay. Now, for those other woods that don't like to turn gray with the Pioneer wood, I brought out a few different products here. They're all some sort of gray stain, an oil-based stain, a gel stain, and a water-based stain. Can you see those all right? Perfect. That if you're looking to do something, make a project out of pine or fir or cedar, any of those that don't turn gray very quickly or really need to be left outside to turn gray, these products will do that fairly quickly for you. I mean, they are stains, so turn them gray, and if you want to maintain that gray color, again, use a water-based finish like the General Finishes. Oh, sorry. I think we're having technical difficulty. We'll just move that there. Hopefully I wasn't too muted there. Anyways, to maintain that gray even over these stains, I would go with General Finishes High Performance. They have, like I said, gloss, semi-gloss, satin, and flat. Their product called Flat Out Flat. I don't know if it's any duller sheen than this, but works quite well. And that'll maintain the really gray grays instead of turning it more of a brown. Now for fun, if you want to take this a little bit further than just, a gray surface like this, you can actually do a little distressing on there. That distressing can be light sanding on corners and edges, or it can be some nicks and dings. Too much, you can do too much quite quickly with nicks and dings. And unfortunately, the human brain wants everything to be very uniform. Less is more. This can be done in any number of ways. It could be thrown on the ground. You can take nuts and bolts or hammers and ding it up. I'm going to hit it a couple times with my keys, and I'll get to a point of why I'm doing this here in a second. There. So we got some nicks and dings on there. Now the idea would be to, if you just like it like that, you can leave it that way, or you can do some sort of glaze or wash on there. A wash would be a paint thinned down with water, and you can use just about any color you wanted. It could be a darker gray, it could be a brown or black. For fun, I'm going to give this glaze a try. This is General Finishes Burnt Umber. And this is just to simulate, years of, you got a ding, years of dirt and stuff getting inside there. So get that a good shaking up there. And we're going to brush a little bit on there and then wipe off the excess. So nice brown color there. See how this works. Okay, so the idea would be to get it into those little dings and dents and stuff, so I'm going to kind of force it down in there. And then take a paper towel here and wipe off the excess. I want to make sure the whole surface gets that. So now you've quickly highlighted those dings with a little burnt umber on there. All right. Cap that for the moment. All right. So the next part is with paint. And I just glanced over. You can see here that it's starting to turn gray already. Hopefully after a few minutes here when this is, we're done with the rest of this, will be dry enough and it'll have turned gray for us. All right, so I splashed more on there. All right, so I had this painted up. The deal here is if you're going to have, trim in your house, or it could be furniture that you're repainting, antiques that you're restoring. And what I've actually done is take this piece of trim here, and I painted it with two different colors. I used Black Dog Salvage. Honestly, you can use any type of water-based paint, milk paint, chalk paint. I really like the General Finishes milk paints. They leave a nice smooth surface. But this is Black Dog. This is black, so I painted the wood black first. And then I painted a few coats of dog bone over the top of that to get to where we're at here. Now, unfortunately, on my way to work today, my Pioneer wood patina sloughed out and got onto here. So whether it works out the way I'm hoping or not, that is what all this splotching is. Just unfortunate to happen. But we're going to distress this. This can be done many different ways. You can do a single color on here and then do some sanding. You can do 2 colors and do some sanding. And the idea is to expose, if you're doing a single color, is to expose some bare wood. And if you're doing multiple colors, to expose colors underneath the top color and some bare wood as well. And so I grabbed some 120 grit paper here. And the idea is to get places where it's raised, where it would get touched or rubbed quite a bit. And we'll kind of see what happens here. Any place that might get touched. We'll see if we can make some of this splotching on here kind of work in our favor. So hopefully, I'm going to switch over to just some 220 grit here and see if I can take a little bit off the top and just get some black exposed. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I used some oak scraps that I had lying around. Not the best wood for doing this. Well, not a lot of black is showing through. Oh, here we go. That looks good. So, I mean, you can easily go overboard. It works really great, this technique, when you have, all these nooks and crannies, any little edges and things. If you were going to do a table and it had edge like this or a similar edge, that would be really cool. Or any of the sharp edges and corners would look really great doing this. I'll do a little bit more here. See if I can just expose a little bit of black. Underneath. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my synthetic pad here and kind of smooth everything out. Now, the next step, I'm going to use a glaze. You can certainly use like a gel stain or a stain if you wanted to. The glaze, the idea is that you can get it on there. It'll start to stain some of the exposed wood and also get any little nooks and crannies like down in these little fillets around the bead. So we're going to do that and see where we get here. Let me get some of this staining off. All right. So that's where we're at now. And honestly, even with that blotchiness from my patina, I'm not too particularly, it looks pretty good actually. All right, so back to the patina here, or the glaze. There it is. Do we have any questions at all? All right, so if you do, just ask, and I'll see if I can answer them for you. All right, so we're going to do kind of a generous amount on here. I'm going to make sure I get down inside everywhere I sanded and all the nooks and crannies. And then wipe off majority of it there. Then you can see, didn't leave it everywhere, but you can see where It's left down in the little corners there. It's stained the bare wood. It leaves a little more patina over the surface, kind of aging it a little bit more. Kind of want to put a little down in there. So something kind of like that. If you wanted to add more, you could certainly let this dry and add a little bit more of the glaze to it. The glaze comes in a multitude of colors. You know, if you like the brown, or there's black, there's some yellow, a couple different colors out there that might complement some of the other paints a little differently. And then you could either leave this as is, and it'll get even more natural patina over time, or you can seal this up. If you like the color just as is, I would highly recommend a water-based finish like High Performance. My only disclaimer there is that there seems to be some sort of odd chemical reaction between white paint and the High Performance clear top coat. It can turn it, I wouldn't say yellow, it might be more on the pink side. You may not notice it if you have this on this off-white or with the glaze on here, this brown burnt umber glaze, you might not notice. So just be aware that that could happen. If I would do a test piece first to make sure that it'll work out for you. Otherwise, you could put a clear wax over the top of this as well, and that should be all right. So there is that cool thing. I mean, looks pretty old now, and I just made this a couple days ago. And so to revisit here is, it's not quite 100% dry, but this is the piece of alder I just did at the beginning. And you can see it is a nice gray. And so with the clear on there, it just darkens up just a teeny tiny little bit. And then here it is, a little dinged up, and adding some glaze to that to fill in the little dings and stuff. All right, and then out on by our finishes, by our front door, there is a display from General Finishes that has a whole bunch of different samples of this kind of thing on there. And it is paint with glazes over it. It is single coats that are distressed with glazes, and double coats, contrasting paints like the black and white that are distressed and then glazed over. So quite a bit cool display out there to see for more ideas. Come and see me here at Woodcraft. I'm here a few days a week. Happy to answer your questions. Let us know if you have any questions online. Thank you much.